food and facts. Okay, so since it's Booktember, let's talk pozzolis. Okay, but before we can get into it, all the information sources and the recipe has been linked in the description box below, so feel free to check it out. Alright, now let's get it. So we're talking about our ingredients. I'm using beans, chilies, chicken, cayenne pepper, oregano, black pepper, onion, and garlic, and there's our garnishes on the side. Alright, so we're going to start off. We're putting our chicken into the pot, and I didn't mention, but we're going to lightly salt it and add some boiling water or warm water to this, and we are now trying to sort of make a broth out of this. Okay, so once this is happening, we're then going to start adding half of our ingredients to this broth. So we'll do half an onion, half the garlic, half the herbs and spices go into it, and then we will just let it start simmering. Okay, and we need to start getting this into a brothy stage. So we start simmering and we can see all of this fat starting to flow. Let's get into the history of pozzoli. Pozzoli is an ancient Aztec dish with very interesting, albeit morbid history. So who are the Aztecs? While the exact origins are unknown, the Aztecs are believed to have been hunter-gatherers, and their name originated from their homeland, Aztlan or White Land. The Aztecs settled in Mexico in the 13th century. The Aztecs worshipped a deity called Zipe Totec, our Lord the Flared One, who is the god of war, new vegetation, fertility, and spring, as well as one of the four creators of the universe. So what does this have to do with pozzoli, and why does pozzoli have such an interesting history? Well, according to Aztec belief, Zipe Totec sacrificed himself for his people by flaying himself and gouging out his eyes so his people could get sustenance by eating his body. Yeah, I know, right? So, in honor of Zipe Totec, every March the Aztec held a festival called the Mains Flaying, which lasted 20 days. The details of the festival were documented in the general history of things of New Spain. Captive warriors were tied by the waist to long cylindrical stones called the Stone of Tizoc. They were provided many weapons to defend themselves. They were then required to battle two of Mexico's greatest warriors. Once a captive warrior was killed, they were flayed and dismembered. The right thigh was given to the palace as a show of gratitude and respects, as the thighs were said to have the best texture and taste. The left thigh and both arms were given to the warrior who captured the enemy in battle. However, he could not eat this meat, as they believed the captor becomes the father and the captured becomes his son. So the relatives, comrades, and leaders prepared to eat this meat at a large banquet. This is known as the consumption of human flesh for religious purposes. Only certain groups of people partake in the food: nobles, lords, warriors, and rulers. One of the main ways this meat was consumed was at the festival in a pozzoli form, which means foamy or boiled. The meat was boiled and often eaten with corn, as it was believed that some men came from corn, so the body that was dismembered made reference to grains. As time passed and it became questionable to use human flesh, pigs were used, and it was said that their flesh is the most similar to the amount of fat, texture, and taste of humans. That's not unsettling at all. And on that note, let's get back to the recipe. After learning so much about pozzoli, we are now skimming the broth we are making, and we do this so that we get a nice clear broth. So all of that foam that comes out to the top, you are just skimming it out so that your broth is nice and clear, and this is going to be used in the recipe of the pozzoli. Now this might take you some time and some of your herbs and spices might come out, but that's completely fine because it's so worth it to get a lovely clear broth that you can use. Now we can see that our broth is nice and clear and there's no more foam left in the broth, and we can just see our chicken simmering with our onions and garlic. And now I'm just going to remove the chicken. So oops, that onion is trying to get away, but not a problem. We will just pop it back inside. I'm just removing the chicken so that we can cube it up and use it in our pozzoli recipe. Once we remove all of the chicken, we're going to have a nice clear broth that we are going to leave aside. And then we are going to start on the actual cooking of the pozole recipe. We are going to add in the remainder of the onion and garlic, and it just needs to be translucent. So we don't need anything to be browned, just translucent. And then we adding in the remainder of the spices and giving that a stir. Once that's done, we're going to cube the chicken that we took out and add that in. And then we are adding in the beans that I substituted, and we're going to give that a stir. We will then add in the broth that we have made, and you can see it's nice and clear, it's not foamy. And we're going to let that simmer until everything is nice and tender. Move on to a quick food fact. By the mid 1350s, the Aztec language became the dominant language in Mexico, and many words were used by the Spanish and thereafter absorbed into English. For example, chili, avocado, and chocolate. Wasn't that interesting? Let's move on to finishing off the pozole. As you can see, the pozole is simmering nicely, and we're going to add our chili in. And our pozole dish is done. I am plating up the pozole, and we can see that the chicken and beans are nice and tender, and our broth is lovely and clear. I also have lovely garnishes. I have radish, coriander, and lime, and I'm going to plate that up. The only thing is that this dish is quite spicy, but you can turn down the chili and the heat as much as you want to. The dish looks really appetizing and you just want to dig into it. Okay guys, that's it for my video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new. So I do apologize if there is any mistakes in the video, but please feel free to correct me in the comments, and I am very interested in your thoughts. Also let me know what you would like to see next, and please like and subscribe. See you guys next time.